Animals need water and plants do too. But I'm here to talk about me and you. You sweat and you breathe and the water goes out, and you put it back drinking through your toe.
I don't think so.
Water is like a washing machine. It keeps the inside and the outside of your body clean. You need plain old water, 6 glasses a day, so you don't shrivel up and fade away. Sometimes your mouth gets the message first, and you need some water to quench your thirst. Sometimes you're tired and you forget to keep the inside of your body wet. Now soda's not water and neither is juice, though your body squeezes water out of all of your food. Before you get thirsty, it's time to think about a cool glass of water. It's the perfect drink. You can sip it through a straw, you can slurp it from a cup, but you need a lot of water, better drink it all up. You can sip it through a straw, you can slurp it from a cup, but you need a lot of water, better drink it all.
I know that in Wisconsin they've gone through and developed conservation practices, and there are other regulations in the works that they're supposed to be proposing, I believe by next year, as far as how the implementation of that will go. There's already an application, obviously, from Waukesha for water, and it's gone back to them, I think, at least twice for them to revise it and include things like conservation measures and what other kinds of things that they're going to consider, such as removing the radium from the water that they already have as a possibility. So it's still a work in progress, even though it was passed in 2008. You can imagine something that is so large and encompasses so many different jurisdictions. It takes quite a bit in order to put into place. And it's still a work in progress, and there are still public comment periods and still ways that the public can get involved in trying to shape those things. And maybe you'd like to speak on.
I don't know much about that other than the fact of the need to really make sure there's a broader understanding and engagement with people, both within the basin and outside of the basin. Just in terms of the term commons, belonging, or responsibility of stewardship by all people, I think there needs to be, I know there are political aspects, but just a real conversation around how do we really manage the water in a more sustainable, effective way, both inside of the basin and outside of it, just understanding where we are globally when it comes to accessing fresh water.
Another question? Yes, ma'am.
Certainly the infrastructure there is a lot of CCC and WPA work in the Depression era, so a lot of Grant Park was sort of hand-carved in the Depression. And the mill pond goes back to the very early years when Hope Creek, that was the water course there, and that was the foundation of South Milwaukee's first prosperity long before it was industrial. And I think what it illustrates is that dams are temporary. They don't last forever. They slow down the current, so siltation will take place behind them, and that's just precisely what's going on in the mill pond. And efforts underway to kind of bring that pond back in this era make that continued investment in our parks. We have something like $300 million in backlog, deferred maintenance, and there is some effort in the direction of trying to restore some of those deficits, but that's an ongoing problem and will certainly only get worse.
I have a question. My name is Donna Yamola. I was wondering, I noticed like we did a lot of recreational things in the city years ago, and I would like to know if there are still places on the river today where one could open up a business and do the kayaking. I know I saw some downtown, but I meant like as a private owner, like I'm thinking about opening up a private business and I want to be on the river. Are there places still available like that? Like say even in the Bayview area?
I am not a realtor, but the answer is yes. All those lots can't change hands. And if you look at the Milwaukee River and the Menominee, not the KK, at least not yet, there's not quite enough water there, probably won't be. But my family and I will canoe a few times in the summer up and down the Milwaukee River into the Menominee. There are now 7 places where you can get out and have dinner. That would not have been possible 25 years ago. So it's a real sign of the waterways rebirth. So yes, it is open season on water recreation in Milwaukee.
Well, and that's what I was wondering if anybody in this gathering could help me locate. I don't know. And I don't know, you don't have to be a realtor, but I'm just wondering because it's just something I'm really interested in.
The US EPA through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative just awarded Milwaukee a grant to start looking at harbor redevelopment, and it includes going through the area that's in the Fifth Ward and down towards the KK, and there will be community places where you can provide public comment on what the vision of that looks like, and it could include things like the businesses that you're talking about.
Okay, I'll get that information from you after this.
There's a question in the back.
Yeah. We saw a lot of challenges in the films that we just watched, but we also saw cause for hope, I think. So I'm wondering if each of the panelists want to talk about how they see Milwaukee and water in the context of these challenges and hopes in, the short term and the long term, but with a forward look, maybe including you two, Mike.
Yeah, obviously Milwaukee has this long history of using and abusing our water resources at various times. I think we're at a point now, not only in Milwaukee, but all across the country, where people are realizing that water should not be taken for granted. So we have several opportunities in Milwaukee. One of the big opportunities is, yes, properly use our water and recreation and all that. The one that I've been focused on is the opportunity to create jobs, to create an economy around our knowledge of water and our history of water. And the fact that, if you think about it, pretty much all of the United States and a lot of the world's water heaters, meters, filters, fixtures, all come out, and pumps all come out of this region. Whether you're using Kohler urinals, or you're using Zurn valves, or Badger meters, Neil Smith water heaters, these are all Milwaukee products. We just never realized we had this concentration. So for the last 7 years, we've been focusing on, can we use this knowledge, this talent to create jobs for our children, our grandchildren, and also help solve the world's water problems. Not just Milwaukee's, the world's water problems. A child dies every 20 seconds of lack of fresh water in the world. That's an abomination. We should, as a people, be able to solve those problems. I think that's where the future of our city lies, in our ability to help solve those problems and create a really great life and good paying jobs for our children and grandchildren in doing so.
Good goodbye. Business knows no party line. So we all know business. In terms of water quality, the rivers are really looking up. There's dramatic transformation going on there. The lake is another question. And the tenure in the water in Lake Michigan, I think it's about 100 years, 190 Lake's career, not quite that long in Lake Michigan. That's a long time for that water to stay there. And what we've done is kind of create that completely artificial ecosystem in the lake. And solving those problems, you look out on the lake, it still looks very pristine and placid, peaceful, dramatic in storm waves. Boy, what's going on down under there is really ecosystem. And the chances of that turning around in our lifetimes being fairly slim. Games like Michael's, efforts like Michael's to try to focus more awareness on muscles, I think that would certainly give us awareness first, and from awareness flows action.
I think what is important is the diversity of people that are involved in decision making, and ensuring and making sure that the composition of Milwaukee, the people who are sitting at the table and making that vision and creating, whether it's jobs, working on solutions to what's happening in the lakes, thinking about recreation, thinking about education. It's important that they represent all views and all parts of Milwaukee, because we all reap the benefits and gifts that the lake and fresh water and having access to all this water brings. And so we should all be a part of thinking of the solutions and what stewardship looks like for all of our children. So that's what we work on.
From a scientist perspective, the lake probably won't ever go back to the way it was before. So how do we deal with what we have, and how do we move forward from here so that we don't cause greater damage and that we're able to manage our freshwater resources better? And I think Milwaukee has been really forward-thinking, from the sewage district, which funds research like mine and other folks at the School of Freshwater Sciences to help figure out what role they're playing in water quality, how they can improve the water systems around here. The picnic example that you saw in John's film is a great example where they're playing a key role in trying to restore that watershed, the Menominee and Milwaukee. And so we have great resources here in Milwaukee, including our own School of Freshwater Sciences and the work that the water business groups are trying to link up with our school and with other schools in the region in order to create solutions to our water problems. So we have a great effort here, and it goes all the way down to the community involvement and through educating students and bringing them to our water resources so they play a role in the future and trying to create new solutions. So I have great hope in the fact that Milwaukee can be a water leader in all sorts of ways in trying to not only manage our water resources but other resources around the world.
Thank you for that question, and I'll answer it in sort of in terms of there's a potential, I think, and the actualization of intergenerational inspiration that's motivating real action on the ground. An example I'll give is MMSD, the Sewage District, put out back in 2013 a 2035 vision for capturing the first half-inch of rainfall that falls in our area. And it didn't say how it was going to happen, it says, we want to get here. And it puts out a challenge to people in my demographic and younger, I think, to actually start to build that future in the built environment at the local scale. Because when you see those small projects, they add up over time, and they can reach sort of a tipping point in the culture where we see different things as normal, and then we behave in different ways that are perhaps more in line with what the science tells us we ought to be doing in terms of how our built environment works with water. The example of one group that I'm volunteering with right now that actually is kind of putting those boots to the ground is called Reflow, where they're doing those kinds of small-scale rainwater harvesting, green infrastructure projects that are combined with the social dynamics of the folks at the commons. So they're not just, okay, how can we do this quantitatively, but how can we do it in a human way as well? So I find inspiration in that, and since the deadline is kind of like 2035, we've got 20 years to build up, but we need to start now, we need to keep going. And so there are people, young people I find, who are taking that mantle on. I think we've got time for maybe one or two more questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, I have a question regarding the remediation efforts at Ornament Park Shooting Range. For those who don't know, there's a shooting range that's been operating on the bluff of Ornament Park in Cudahy for over 80 years. They've been shooting lead shot into the lake all of that time, and our best estimates is that there are at least 72 tons of lead shot in the lake. These numbers come from the operators say 99.9% of the lead that they shoot there ends up in the lake. Now, recently, there is a remediation efforts underway, and I asked to take a look at the remediation, or there's a work plan for remediation few days later, they said, oh, we'll get back to you, but that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and haven't heard a word from them. The question is, do you water experts think it's a good idea to not do an analysis or essay of the lake bed while they're doing this cleanup of the area?
I guess that's a short answer. Yes, they should go and measure things in the lake if they're not doing that. You know, we have a historic problem which was brought out nicely in the films that you saw about how we have, mixed use of our water systems. Even in, we're talking about harbor redevelopment. There's a lot of industry around that harbor that you don't want to completely get rid of. We have recreational uses like you're talking about that are sometimes in conflict with our environmental goals. And trying to come up with a good solution there can be difficult, but maybe in this case there's a more simple solution. But at the very least, doing those initial environmental site assessments should probably include the lake. And I'm only guessing that because the business doesn't own the lake, that would be one reason why they're not requiring the business to actually do that. But that's not to say that you shouldn't push the DNR to actually do those measurements.
Both business and economy are responsible parties.
But no one owns the waterway, and so I'm guessing that's why they're requiring them to only do the land survey instead of the water survey. But I'm not saying that should not be.
But, by the way, the plan is currently, the work plan is currently under review by the DNR. Would you guys be willing to pressure them to make that work plan so we can use the lake?
Yeah, I'd like to read it, but
Okay, I have some comments.
Give her a copy because I don't agree. This is where I get myself in trouble now. First off, almost all the shot in America has been switched over to steel shots, and they're not contributing lead anymore. And I'm a Wisconsin trustee of the Great Lakes Protection Fund. Each state appoints a trustee, so I'm a Wisconsin. So it has been studied at the Great Lakes Protection Fund. The problem is if you try to dredge up that lead, you will introduce more lead into the water than if you let the sleeping dog lie. So that's generally what the conclusion is. You're better off just letting it settle there. Right now, believe me, it's covered with mussels and algae, and I think you do more damage digging it up. But they can look into it again. It's been looked into before, and that's always been the conclusion. That's just my reaction. So I'll add that for what it's worth.
But coincidentally, I looked at the water quality reports of the Milwaukee County Lake Shore communities, and Cudahy has the highest drinking water lead level. And then the quantities, the levels taper off the farther you get away from Cudahy.
Yeah, and that lead is almost entirely introduced through lead pipes, and we have over time started to replace lead pipes. I used to make water meters that had lead in them. We now use bismuth. Bismuth is safe. You all drink bismuth whenever you've got an upset stomach, because it is the Pepto-Bismol. So we don't use lead anymore. As we get lead out of the pumping systems, the pumps, the pipes, the filters, all the other things, we have seen an abatement of lead in drinking water. We have to continue to get it down. I highly doubt that the lead in Lake Michigan is contributing to Cudahy's lead levels. But they can search it, they can research it and find out.
Of course, lead plumbing does contribute to the water levels, but if you look at all of those water quality reports, they say that natural deposits can also increase.
And we'll have time for more discussion in the lounge after. I want to take, I think, the last question here, ma'am.
Hi, I'm an elementary educator, and I just am wondering if there's access to the films for use for student education, and also with the game. What is the age-appropriate level for the game, and can I only access that online, or where can I purchase that? And quickly for the Commons, do you provide resources for teachers or educators for, stewardship that I can use with my students in the classroom?
I can take the first part of that. The game right now, I have a prototype. I'm working to gather support to fund the creation of 500 to sell to folks like you, educators in the Great Lakes region. So I can work with you at a small scale right now, but I'm looking to gather the campaign to get support to produce some of that quantity so I can get them to you. In terms of the films, I just did load my film onto the Muscle Madness website. You're welcome to use that for educational purposes. That's why it exists. I appreciate if we could have a conversation about that so I can track how much impact it's having.
Yes, the WIP definitely can get in touch with you after this is
So it's there. Wisconsin Eye is the producer, and wiseye.org is their website.